Good evening. I'm Dr. Reggie Ratliff, host of Let's Talk Maywood on Diverse Today Media. Welcome to our podcast. And joining us at this time is my co-host, my co-laborer in the vineyard, and as always, expert investment advisor, Terrence Hollingsworth. Terry, good evening.
Yo, what's going on? It is springtime, sir.
Yes, sir. Spring is springing. That daylight savings time kicked in. Woo! Took a couple days, man, to adjust, you know, but it's a good time of the year. How you been?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm getting my bike ready. I ride every day, so I'm excited.
I tell you, man, it's a lot going on nationwide, and particularly here in the nation's capital and the DMV. You have people who a lot of federal employees, contractors, and Department of Education, and the tariffs against Canada and Mexico, and I mean a lot going on, man. That's impacting the entire nation. Um, how does that impact our economy? The decisions that Donald Trump has been making since he's sworn in as president. There's a slight delay, Terry. So
So for yeah, I don't know. I tried to come into a different place, and I thought that the internet was gonna be better, and it don't seem to be better. So hopefully we can get this, and I'll keep working on uh, this whole our connection problem. So,
yeah, but
but
yeah,
um, hi, Mayor Thompson,
Mayor
who's also
Thompson, how you
running
doing?
for reelection. So everybody go out and vote for her. Yeah, hopefully she's doing a great job out in Broadview. So,
Indeed.
um, go vote for her March 17th. But I will say this. Um, we're in changing times. Maywood is in changing times. Of course, with the new administration, we are in changing times, and so as it relates to the stock market, everybody has to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Now, I usually do not talk about this very much, except in our master classes, but I'll give you some insight. I made some adjustments to my portfolio um, this week. And so, two things that I took out financials, and I've been heavily invested in marijuana companies the last couple of years, right? And the marijuana companies actually did good during the Biden administration.
I'm
If
sure
you
they did.
remember,
Yeah.
yeah, he ran on saying that he was going to legalize marijuana, and then he never did, right?
Right.
Um, Trump is not in that space, so the stocks are selling off. And of course, with the tariffs and all the other things, um, they're slowing the economy down, which means
Mhm.
selling less cars, selling less homes, all those things. And so, um, they're going to make less money as banks, retailers. We look at the Walmarts, the Targets. They all have the same problem. People have less money.
Mhm.
They have less money to spend, and therefore they're not going to make as much money, and the stock is going to have to be revalued. So
Yeah.
um, think about it in terms of your own 401k plans, your own
Right.
investments, what kind of adjustments you need to make because um, we don't expect the what everything Trump's doing. Uh, we could go into a recession. If it is a recession, then of course, again, you have to reprice, and so that's where we are.
So I know that we were down last week overall with the stock market, the including the first 2 days of this week, and today the Dow was up a little bit, the Nasdaq was up a couple hundred points or what have you. But is this something that's connected to the emotions of people who are investing or selling off is because he's saying the market is going to correct itself, but of course it's going to correct itself. But the question is, how long, in your opinion, will it take for the market to correct itself,
We don't know.
or will
I mean, at the end of the
recession
day,
have to happen first?
yeah, we don't know. The truth is that Donald Trump is a wild card, and as long as tariffs are on the books, then prices are going higher, right?
Mhm.
As long as people are being laid off, then we just don't know. And so
Yeah.
um, what you do is you properly position yourself. So maybe you have some more cash, maybe you move money into other areas of the market because at the end of the day, technology has sold off, right?
Hmm.
Last year, I think Nasdaq did 52%,
Hmm.
right? QQQs. So, um, again, but this is, believe it or not, this is a normal market, right? It's not a market crash. The market adjusts every single year based
Sure.
off what is the economy is telling us, right? And so right now the economy is telling us expect less revenue, higher taxes, right? Things like
Right.
that. So
Well,
I
they
shouldn't
said
say
that
higher taxes. We don't know yet.
right.
But
We don't know.
um,
Right. But it's safe to say that there's a chance there'll be higher taxes if the tariff taxes kick in, right? Because it's the consumers who pay the taxes, not the government. Is that correct?
absolutely, yeah,
So one more
that is
thing
correct.
because
So
you are
I
the
mean,
expert.
and again,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah, one more.
So yeah, one more thing. Is now a good time to invest if you've never invested, or maybe you are someone who's just dipping your toe into the water, with the stock market. Because you hear people who teach financial literacy, and they say save your money, save up to 6 months. So if you lose your job, you have enough, to save for a rainy day, emergency funds, or whatever. Do you think now is a good time to invest in companies? Is that too risky with the way the stock market has been performing and the economy as well?
My thing that I always say about investing is it's always a good time to get started. It is always to pour more money into the stock market. Um, you almost don't have any other choice, right? And it's pretty much that simple.
Yeah. So finally, with everything happening nationwide, how does this impact the village of Maywood in your position, in your expert opinion, with everything that's going on in the village? What is your analysis of that?
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing. Maywood has this problem that they have very high property taxes,
Hmm.
right? And if people are being laid off, potentially you could see more foreclosures and things like this. And right now they're not. I can't remember the collection rate for property taxes, but it's below the standard. And so all of those things put a strain on finances. And, again, sounding like a broken record, but Maywood has to take the correct steps and do a strategic plan. I was happy to see Mayor Thompson in Broadview. They put their strategic plan out last week, I think it
Hmm.
was. I got a chance to look at that, and it's just responsible. That's just the responsible thing to do.
Yes, it's the fiscally responsible thing to do, to let the constituents know, let the community know what the goals are for the village at a micro
Yeah,
level, macro level, and a micro level. Correct?
that is absolutely correct.
Short term and
And
long term.
if you don't, yeah, if you don't, if municipalities don't go into bankruptcy often, but it is possible.
Indeed. Well, we'll leave it there. My brother, thank you again for offering your expert advice and opinion. And where I'm excited about our guest that's coming on. He's a candidate for the Maywood Park District. His name is Taeveon Johnson. Excited to have him. Mr. Johnson is a lifelong resident. Peace, Terry. Yes, sir. Mr. Johnson is a lifelong resident of Maywood, where his family has lived since 1976. Growing up in Maywood, Mr. Johnson learned the importance of hard work, leadership, and most importantly, giving back. Those values have shaped his career and his passion for public service. As a former Proviso East wide receiver who later returned as a coach, Mr. Johnson has always been committed to mentoring the next generation. He earned a master's degree in public administration and built a career that combines leadership, government, and community engagement. Mr. Johnson served as communications specialist for the Illinois Senate and now works as a project manager. He's running for Maywood Park District Commissioner seat to improve finances, rebuild trusts, and bring exciting events to the community. Mr. Johnson believes in putting public service over self-service, and he is dedicated to making the Park District a resource that truly serves the people. If it needs to be shortened, which it does not, Mr. Johnson, that is perfect, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Reggie. I really appreciate it having you on this podcast. I'm excited to have this discussion with you. I done did my research. I done watched videos. I done did everything to prepare for this podcast to make sure it's a good conversation and we give them the people what they need.
Amen, brother. That's what we're about, man. Having a space to have good conversation. And just so you know, people didn't come on to hear me talk. They came to hear too. So with that said, we'll talk a little bit about your background. Your family has lived in the village since the mid 70s. So we're talking over 5 decades, nearly 5 decades, which is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
no, go on. I'm sorry, Dr. Reggie, go ahead.
So you went to Lexington, right?
I did.
You want to give a shout out to anybody who went to Lexington, the Lion, your fellow Lions, the Lioness?
Oh, let's give a shout out to the whole class of 09. That's the year I graduated. Give a shout out to them, help everybody doing well. Class of 09. That's the big shout out I could give. My whole family went to Lexington. From my mother to my brothers to everybody, my auntie, my auntie, they, we Lexington, we Lions,
Right.
You cracked the joke on me earlier that they ain't open no more, but
I want to keep that, private, but you brought it up.
The building's still there, but Lexington is, they got deep roots for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, good times, Lexington, the rivalry basketball games, Lexington, Roosevelt, Emerson, Garfield, Washington. I mean, of course, I missed some schools, but, in that general area, Lincoln, I mean, can't forget about that. Even like Jane Addams and, I mean, all the schools in D89. I mean, we're top notch and we got the best education, man, growing up in that working class community. So, here we are. You went on to get a master's in public administration. Where did you get your MPA from?
I got it from the University of Illinois Springfield out in Springfield. So I went there. I had my master's degree within 2.5 years, I believe. I was done with the program in 2020, and during that program, I worked at the Illinois Senate. I had an internship program there that I learned the government relations and policy and communications and everything underneath that umbrella.
Nice. And now you are in the field of project management.
Yes.
Talk about your role as a project manager.
So as a project manager right now, I deal with customers that need power. So I'm sure if they need upgraded equipment, if it's their first point of service, if they need their service relocated, I help them to system and stream the timeline for them the best way I can, ensure that they get the service at immediately and they're getting the power to service their business, whatever it may be, and just work with them. From just say I'm the middleman. Make sure that they work with construction. I let them know everything that's going on and make everything for them easy as I can.
Nice. So, Mr. Johnson, what was your motivation for running for commissioner of the Park District? Why did you decide to take that leap?
To be honest, I got a phone call from someone, and they called me. They called my bluff. And said, I want to do something in my community. I want to help out. And I was a football coach at the time. I want to do more. And they called me and they told me, like, I got some positions open for you. And I told them I run around Pro District. And here I am now. But truth be told, the reason why I'm running is because it's too many times people talk bad about Maywood, and we are a historic village and nobody will step up to the table. And it's too many times that our residents have to go enjoy other community engagements. And why not have those engagements here that like how they used to be? And I want to bring those engagements back to ensure that the real Maywoodians enjoy our community and we can speak proud about it. And to just take a deeper dive, I think that everybody in Maywood and the youth should have a fighting chance, to enjoy everything I got to enjoy. Especially with me having a kid in the community, growing up in this community, he needs to have programs and public safety that the park district used to offer, and they don't offer it at a high level how they used to, in my personal opinion. I had the cotillion there. We did ballroom dancing. We did everything there that to learn ethics. We did the badge program. We had the youth programs, and I want to bring all that black plus more. I want to make it Maywood more fun and more engaging. That people are proud to live in Maywood. They're proud to take their kids to the park district. They're proud to be involved. And they want to step up as well.
So let me ask you a question. I know something happened with Dr. Ratliff, so I'm gonna step in for a few minutes. But um, you used to be where did you coach football at?
I coach football at the Proviso East.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so couple questions. Did you come up through the kids program playing football as well?
Yeah, so I didn't actually play for the Maywood Bucks. I got to be honest. I didn't play for the Bucks. For the city team. Shout out to the North Lundale Eagles. My father was heavily involved in that program when I was a kid. Now is one of the directors of that program and assisting those kids, on North Lundale community of uprising them to make sure that they have the same opportunities that his son was able to enjoy. And I'm just following into those footsteps.
So, as a football coach, how important or how do you plan to get the park district to be more involved with youth athletics um, as a feeder to the high school program?
That's a great question. I'm actually glad you asked that. So first, we have to get the parents involved with that. Parents will have to have trust within the high schools because it's a lot of parents are taking their kids outside of the community, and the way to keep them in, we got to ensure that we are doing what we got to do at the grade school level for our youth, bringing them up, like the youth football, bringing that back. I love to bring the Maywood Bucks back because that was a staple in the community, and then working with the high school with just not sports because it's not about sports for a lot of parents nowadays. It's academics. It's how do you strive the kids to greatness and do things that could excel them in life to do better than they do better than their parents because that's what the parents want. They want the kids to have more access than they did, and you got to do that from starting from the ground up.
Yeah. So I have a little experience with youth sports and the importance of, you know, student athletes and how you develop them.
Mhm.
Is there currently how are you guys approaching this now as a staff at Proviso East?
Well, I would say it's actually difficult, being a football coach because a lot of kids come in there, and I coach freshmen, sophomores. A lot of kids come in not having played sports before, so we have at the high school level, we have to engage them better and get them in youth sports early because when you start football in high school, you kind of behind. Say, for instance, me, I started playing football in fourth grade, so I was able to get all those jitters, that scaredness, that oh, I might not want to do this at a earlier age. So by seventh, eighth grade, I was able to excel because I was able to get all the scaredness out fourth, fifth, sixth grade. And then seventh, eighth grade is like, well, that hit not that bad, or that tackle not that bad, or it's not as bad as hurting. I think it's going to be. Then when you start your freshman, it's like you haven't got those jitters out, so you already behind. So as coaches, we playing catch up. So we need the feeder program, like you were saying, to get the kids together at a young age, get them started. And how you get to do that? You get the parents involved. You have a program that's trusting, that's fun, and that's engaging, and then we can start from there.
Okay. I pretty much agree. Um, so there's some financial problems with the park district at the moment. Um, and there's this thing about the mayor wanting to take over the park district and things like this. What do you think is the best strategy to navigate through that in order to make sure that at the end of the day, the park district has to serve the community somehow, right?
Right. So I know you said it was some management problems. Then the local government is trying to take over the park district. I'll start off like this: that I don't believe in dissolving the park district. I don't believe it should be underneath the local government entity. I think the park district should say its own entity because it is an essential community service if used correctly. Because I enjoyed it. Growing up, I didn't have nothing bad to say about the park district. So to be able to actually work with the local government is essential. You have to ensure that they are, on board with us as well. I know it's a lot of referendums or things they should have did or things of that nature, but right now they are the big brothers, if you want to call it. We have to work with them and make them comfortable, ensure that they're comfortable with us so we can make it an easy transition of them accepting us, who we are, and have a strong leadership in place. It's 4 seats up, so it's going to be 4 new people. So we gotta, if we really love Maywood, we want to make sure that Maywood has everything that they need. We got to be able to work together and ensure that everybody voice counts in the village. And that's why we should have more than, one time a meeting. We should have town halls for the park district. Ensure that every community is represented, they able to speak their piece, and then we listen to them, and then we move forward.
Okay. So with everything that happens in local organizing, we're not getting enough people out to vote. Um, what then is how best do you re-engage the community? And I know, we agree that, getting the parents involved and stuff like this. How do you best do that? Do you first reach out to the parents or do you start programming?
So I think both have to work together. You know, Programs without people is not a program. Programs without the parents, it doesn't work. So you have to create programs that engage the people that they fund. They talk about Maywood. The best marketing is word of mouth, and you got to do that. Say for instance, the pool not being open for several years. Fred Hampton Pool. I was able to enjoy that pool growing up. Imagine that pool reopening, and I know it's underneath the local government organization right now. But imagine that pool opening back up and kids able to enjoy that back again. It's free days at the pool. People are able to, bring their families and it's a barbecue out there and engaging. But you have to make sure that you invite everybody and everybody is represented to the fullest.
So there's a lot of bad blood between the park district and the current administration. Um, it didn't start with the current administration. I don't remember what year the referendum was out there. But what do you think should happen now in regards to that referendum? And does the park district? Do you think they should try to enforce the referendum, or do you think they should? I don't know.
In my personal opinion, I don't think, well, at least with my first time running, I go in there and try to fight the village. I don't think that's the best tactics. I think the best tactics is establishing a relationship with them and showing them that we can do this work easily that what we have right now. So give everything back that we are should be a control of and watch what we do with it. But that got to make sure that we all are on the same accord and we show in the village that we can have the whole entire parks in the village. And you know who can speak up for us? The
Who's
residents.
that?
The
Yeah,
residents.
you're right.
The residents. As long as they speak up for us, it shouldn't be nothing that we cannot do. If the residents putting pressure on the village, why won't the village do what the residents, need? And they won't because we're doing great at the park district now, and that we should have that control. Let other people do that work for us. I'm a person that I don't always got to speak up. Somebody might speak up for me, and they can do the work that's required, and let's move forward.
So let me ask you a question. If in the event that the village votes to take over the park districts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What then happens to the trustees? Do you know, uh, or the commissioners that's the newly elected? Does those all go away, or what would be the next steps after that?
Okay, to my knowledge, that the village cannot vote to dissolve the park district. The park district has to vote to dissolve itself. So you have to get a majority vote. So if it's 5 seats and it's 4 seats available, that means newcomers will be coming in, actually making that decision to dissolve it, because I don't know if the current administration, the person that's sitting there, wants to dissolve it. I don't believe that. But that means we will have to dissolve the people that get into that seat, technically, because we
Okay.
will be the majority, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. Okay. So in order for the village to actually take over, then the okay, so that makes sense because that's the whole slate thing, right? And
Yeah.
you get your people on the board, and then they choose, right? Does the community? Because you talked a lot about the community.
Mhm.
Um, does the community have a say so after that? So if it came up to a vote, could they go back in and petition? How many signatures would they need in order to stop something like that?
Stop it from being dissolved. I think that's the question you asking.
Yes.
So, so right now on the ballot it's a non-binding, which means that even if the residents vote to dissolve it, it's still up to the commissioners to dissolve it. So, and I
Yeah.
believe in a primary election that actually passed, being honest, actually did pass during the primary election. I don't know if it's going to pass again, and that will be alarming, because we need our parks and recreation. There's no parks, no village near us has lost their parks and recreation. And it look bad on Maywood that we have to give up a central community asset and give it to the village because we couldn't do what we were supposed to do. I'm more of a keeping things in the house type of person. Keep our issues in house. Everybody don't have to know it. That's how I just grew up.
I know, right?
And we need to figure that out in house, and nobody else needs to know it. And how we figure it out is how we figure it out, and that's how we're going to move forward. And
So the question I was actually asking, if
okay.
the board somehow
Mhm.
decides to dissolve
Mhm.
the park district, do the citizens have a recourse that they can come in and get a petition? I know this is a heavy question because you're not serving on park district before, but is that a possibility? Could they come in with signatures and say we don't choose this?
I think the best important thing is when you go vote in this upcoming election on April 1st, you vote the best to your ability, and you state that how you feel about it. I don't think if the commissioners vote to dissolve it, I think that's done, and it's got to go through legal allegations for it to be underneath the village or however it works. I'm not sure on how that would be transitioned to them, but I know that the commissioners will be voting to take themselves off the board and voting to decrease what the effort or work you put in to get on the board. And that's just my opinion.
So then, what do you think the biggest hurdle the the park district has in front of it now? Is it solvency, or is it programming, or something else?
I think the biggest hurdle that the park district has right now is transparency and finances. Based on being in the meeting that the park district is in a deficit right now, and they have been not receiving funds potentially or funding from the state that they should be receiving because of internal things that only they know, because sometimes the board meetings was not clear, per se. But I think the park district needs to become more transparent and get their finances in order to be able to move forward. And if you have great leaders in place, you can do that. And you working with the community. There's plenty people out here that's willing to help anybody that's trying to do good. And all the commissioners need to do is listen, assess, and do the right thing.
So they like to ask politicians, right, elected officials, um, what's the first thing that you want to accomplish in the first, let's say 90 days, right?
Right.
What do you think that should? What is the thing that you want to accomplish in the first 90 days?
You know, being from the community, you want to do tons of things. I want to do this and I want to do that. I want to bring back this and I want to do that. But first, before we do any of those things, we got to make sure the finances are in order. We cannot move forward unless we know where the dollars are going, how they're coming in, and how we're spending them. I don't believe no commissioner should get on that board and just try to hit the ground running before knowing where is the money and how are we going to use it. And to do that, you need to get an audit. You need to get the financial audit. You need to get an outside organization that has no ties to anybody to look at the finance, take a deep review, and then we'll be able to move forward before we do a program, before we do want to do the big gatherings or the events. We got to know where the money at, how we're going to use it, and audit will help out doing that.
So Renika Smith, she's on the ballot, and she said pretty much the same thing, that and the audit is probably a top priority for the park district. And I can't argue with that, because there have been talks about the park district not getting the funding that they were just supposed to get from property taxes and things like that. So how would you address that part? In the idea of, you got the mayor and the village of Maywood, and they're collecting money, but they're not sending it to you guys like you're supposed to. How do you address that properly?
So I think with entering office, all the commissioners, we should have a meeting with the trustees and mayor, whoever they shall be after April 1st, have a meeting with them and see how we could work together to move forward. We got to make sure that we're on the same page, because we all supposed to help each other out. The local municipality is supposed to make sure the villages, everything is cooperative, the local roads is correct, the initiative's correct, working on the property taxes and trying to get that down for many of us homeowners, because I'm one. And we got to ensure that we are supporting each other. And to do that, we need to have meetings. We need to make sure that we're showing up to their board meetings, assessing our concerns. Bringing, not putting pressure on them, but making sure they're aware that we're here and we're not going to stop until we get our just due. And to do that, you got to show up, you got to talk, you got to speak up, and they got to make sure that they're listening and assessing properly so we can move forward.
So, do you have any relationships? What's your current relationships with the mayor and current trustees? Are you on a first name basis with them now, or familiarity? How you doing, but not really close or anything like that?
With the mayor right now, I don't have a close relationship with him, but I see him. You know who I am. I shake his hand. You know, uh, quick conversation. It's nothing too deep because I don't know him that well. I have nothing against him. I know other board members that's on the board, and we have, they see me grow up in the community. They know I am, and they strongly are supporting me during this election because they know what my heart is, and they know I want to make sure that Maywood moves forward because I'm a Maywoodian. I speak highly of Maywood. I talk people down about Maywood. We are so centrally located. We're not too deep from the far suburbs. We're not too deep from the city. We're in a great location, and we need to grasp this and take advantage of it because we're not going to have it if we don't stick together.
Hmm. So yeah, that's good stuff, man. I know Maywood. I never lived in Maywood. I have to tell the truth, but I pretty much lived on Sixth Avenue because my buddy, they lived over there. I went to Triton every single day when I wasn't in class. I was over there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I became a man in Maywood, is what I should say, right?
Okay. Okay.
um,
You was on the north side of 290. Or was on the south side of 290. What side you was on?
Well, okay, so I went to college at Triton. And
Okay, so you was
then,
on the south side. Okay, Roosevelt side
yeah,
is
so,
so everybody know that's watching. Roosevelt side is the best.
yeah, and well, listen, here's the funny story. I'm young, I don't know what I'm doing. And so, of course, Triton is a community college. So
Mm-hmm.
my apartment was supposed to be in Triton, I mean, in Maywood, but then I didn't send my deposit. And they gave my apartment away. So I ended up
Mm-hmm.
having to move in with my cousin in Forest Park. But, it was all good because, again, I spent all my time in Maywood. So, um, but, it's real interesting for me because you said some things that are right. Maywood is properly positioned between, let's say, Westchester and Broadview, and more importantly, River Forest, right off this major corridor, which is 290, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a gift. And how do there's some conversations about putting a sports complex there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you being a football coach, I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
hear what your thoughts are about not only uh, do you think it's a good idea, but where could it go? And, how do you raise money for it to tell the truth?
So I believe you're talking about the current administration trying to build a new Maywood complex. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't want to speak too much on that because I'm not. I don't know the whole totality. I would enjoy an indoor facility because you go to these other facilities in these other communities, and I would love the indoor turf field, the indoor basketball courts, the indoor baseball, badminton. I would enjoy all that, and but I think that should be kind of underneath the park district, regime. And we're supporting that whole heavily. I believe the pool should be underneath the park district. You can't. I could be a little biased, because I'm running for the park district board, but be a little biased. So, but I believe all that should be, underneath that Parks and Recreation, Health and Wellness, umbrella. When it comes to funding for it, it's several ways you can look at it. You can do grants, you can do donations, or you could do, other ways that putting out loans from underneath their umbrella that they say they could support this and from banks and they could pay for it. I don't know if that would be a hassle on the residents. I'm not sure. I can't speak to that, but I know that they will figure out the funding, or they will have to, because you are presenting this to the community members. If every community member wants it, you got to actually ask them, if they want something like this, and see, what they think.
So let me give some controversy to the conversation.
Okay. Okay.
um, Maywood is starting to, is going to get a certain amount of money coming from the casinos, right? In perpetuity.
Yep.
Um, we think it's going to be a lot of money because
Mhm.
it's the city of Chicago. People
Right.
like to gamble. All these things. Do you think that the village should endow the park districts?
Endow.
Meaning,
Okay. Go
yeah,
ahead.
meaning that they give a certain guaranteed amount of money to
Mhm.
go from the casino to the park districts. And let me say one other thing.
Mhm.
The property tax ask is 1%, uh, which isn't a big amount of money, right?
Mhm.
For that goes to the park district. If they were to down it coming from the casino,
Mhm.
could they get rid of? Would you be in favor of getting rid of the 1% property tax ask?
Let me answer that first because I believe anything that helps out the resident for property taxes would be essential. I know Maywood residents, everybody talk about their property taxes. I talk about it with my neighbors. I talk about what, anybody come across, knocking doors out here getting support. They talk about the property taxes. That's one of the first things. So if it could give property tax relief for many of the residents, all the residents, however it do it, I strongly agree with that. That it should, get some property tax relief. Now, when you speak about the question that the village giving money to the park district, I don't know if they'll do that. I don't know if they'll do that. I don't think it'll be in their favor. And the reason why I say that is because they have a deficit as well on their end that they need to figure out. They should worry. They most likely is going to worry about decreasing their deficit, and instead of putting money in the hands of other local entities. I don't think they're going to assist them while they need to figure out their own, discrepancies.
Well,
And
but
I could.
don't you think that's a fair question though, right?
I think
That
it's a fair question. I do. I really do think it's a fair question. I think that as park district commissioner, I should be asking that question. And I will. If it comes up. But if they don't want to do it, you know,
I,
I can.
I
I
wouldn't
can't.
assume that I wouldn't assume that they'll say, yeah, this is, we want to do this. But,
Right.
again, um, as you said, one of the bigger issues in Maywood as a village is the property taxes.
Hmm.
And how do you reduce the property taxes? Um, one, you got to get down to debt on some level.
Right.
But in this situation, when we're talking about really a small percentage that you guys get from property taxes, then how
Hmm.
do you replace it? And could the casino actually make sense to at some point transition the park district off of property tax to
Hmm.
a casino ask, right?
Right.
Do you think that's a good idea or not a good idea?
So I believe your question is to transition the property tax that the park district is receiving to what the casino will give to the village.
Yes.
Yeah, and more so to the park district. So first, I want to say, shout out to State Senator Kim Lifer. She made sure the village of Maywood was receiving money from the casino that's being built in Chicago. She does a great initiative. That was a great initiative for the village, and she should be honored for that, and she should be uplifted for that. I think whatever we need to do to relieve the resident of property taxes, we should take in account. you know, we should get all our finances in order, decrease them, get them to zero, and make sure that we're good, and then make sure that the residents are willing to stay in Maywood because a lot of residents are leaving Maywood. A lot of us, black individuals are leaving Maywood because the property taxes are high. They can't keep growing my house, and they're leaving. So if the casino 1% came to the park district, I think that'd be great. We could take some relief off the residents, and then we get some grant funding and we use that. And then it might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but years down the line, we were able to take that relief off the residents because we're getting money from elsewhere, and we don't need that money, for at a consistent level.
Well, if you pay attention to anything that we've talked about on this show, we've been
Mm-hmm.
heavily promoting a strategic plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because there's so much transition at this moment, especially when you talk about casino money, but um, the demographics changing from, predominantly African American to more Hispanics moving into the village and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Without a strategic plan, I think it creates a very hard way for the village and residents of the park district to operate from. And so, I know you said that the audit is at the top of the list. What about a strategic plan? How far out do you think, or how high on the priority list would a strategic plan be for the village as well? I mean, for the park district.
Strategic plan, as in what, Terrence? Or strategic plan, as in what? Is it uh, as in what? I just want to make sure I had the question is clear.
I'm sorry. Yeah, like, what is the outlook to pay down the debt and bring in programming? Like we talked about, youth programming. But then Dawn Williams, who was the chair when she was on, she talked about services for the elderly and stuff like this. So what would that look like? Assuming you get the audit done,
Mhm.
then how soon do you start working on a strategic plan?
To be honest, you start working on strategic plan as soon as you are voted in on. I mean, you get the votes and you're in on April 1st. I don't think you should even wait until you're sworn in, because the work should be done before you are, in office. To a certain point, you already getting hitting the ground rolling. And anybody that's running for the park district commissioner, they should be understanding that this is not going to be easy for any one of us. We're going to have to work together. We're going to put the legwork in. We're going to make sure we have meetings with our state senator, our leader Lightford. We're going to have to work with our speaker Welch, that to get this funding to pay this debt down, to bring these programs back. And then I know that the 921 building is in the TIP district, that we're trying to ask for support from the village. We're getting funding from them to get certain things done in the park district that's needed, to keep costs down. That, funds that's not ready available from our state workers. And that's how we do it. We call on the people that's above us to assist us in this time of need to move forward. I don't see Leader Lifer not wanting to help the village that has help the partnership that has a name on it. I don't see that Speaker Wells, that's a pillar in the community as well, to helping out the park district. I don't see them not helping, but we got to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row to be able to receive that help.
I agree. I mean, I've had the benefit of having certain conversations with Mayor Johnson in Chicago before he got elected, and that was the source of our conversation. He was like, these things need to be driven from the bottom, and I'm saying they need to be driven from the top. And it's probably some combination of both of those, because from the bottom, the community has to speak out and say what they need, and then the federal funding or state funding has to
Mhm.
follow that. But
Well,
absolutely, go ahead.
yeah, well, let me speak on this. I was at the Democratic Party proposal meeting this past weekend, and they said they had reviewed, I believe, over 3,000 bills. Maybe even, I could be stating the wrong number, but it was a high number. So you got to understand that these representatives, these senators have a lot on their plate. If you don't bring nothing forth to them, how would they know what's going on? They at a high level. We got to bring them on our level what's going on, so they can better assist us the best way possible. You got to be able to show them this is what's going on. This is what I need from you, and let me know what I need to do to get the resources from you that you're going to assist, so we can move forward. And that's it. You got to make sure that you put this in their face and showing them what's going on, because they won't know, because they have so much high level stuff they're dealing with. Yes, they representing
Mm-hmm.
a community that they're voting them in, but they have other people they have to work with as well. And that's us residents, us constituents got to understand that it's not that just them voting on anything. They have to get the support of their co-workers as well as other members as well to get these initiatives passed.
Yeah, that's 100%. I agree. So listen, I don't want to hold you, but I totally appreciate you coming on. Um, and it's important to have young people stepping in and starting to serve. So, um, I'm an elected official in Iowa at the county level, and but I started off kind of just like you. I coached wrestling for a really long time, and you get older, you kind of get more involved with, you hear about stuff, and it's a nice place to be. So I'm glad to see you stepping in. So before we go, I wanted to give you a couple minutes to just have your closing remarks. Tell people again why you're running and anything else you want to say.
So I know Dr. Reggie had to jump out for whatever reason so far. I appreciate him for asking me to get on this podcast. I appreciate Terrence, for having me as well. And I would like to say that, my name is Taeveon Johnson, and I'm a lifelong resident of Maywood. I'm here for the community, and I want to support the community. Our youth need a young-minded person like me to be able to navigate what they need and work with other people and bring that into fruition. And if I could do that with other people, other commissioners that will be on the board, and hopefully I will be on there, and we could work together to make Maywood back again or even better. And we need each other to do that. We need the residents to step up and speak their mind. If you don't speak your mind, nobody will know. You know what they say? A closed mouth do not get fed. And you have to step up and speak. And that's why I said at the beginning of the speech, it's too many times people talk about Maywood and will not step up to the plate. And you have a young man like me who has went to school, worked in local government, who's stepping up to the plate and want to help our community out to make sure that it's putting a smile on all our faces and we're having fun, and we could talk about all the other villages that they're not doing what we are doing. And to do that, we need to all work together. The support doesn't just end on April 1st voting. The support continues to make sure that we're all on the same page and Maywood is becoming back what it used to be. A lot of the old, Maywoodians as a resident has fallen out of love with Maywood, and I can feel that walking and knocking on these doors. And we have to support them better because they are the backbone of our community. The backbone. They need the support, they need their needs met, and we got to do that and still uplift our youth who are the future of our community. Let's do that. I need you guys' help, and I hope you get me in there so I can do this work and be able to, support Maywood. Both of me, April 1st. I strongly support Maywood, and I hope you do too. Terrence put me back on there. He wanted me to keep going, y'all. But yeah. So
There we go. I'm sorry.
yeah, I got all night, Terrence. If you got some more questions, but I set my schedule open for this, but Maywood is a legendary city. I keep going. Maywood is a legendary city, and we got to treat it that way. We got greats that come from here. Providence, Louise has the most basketball players ever put in the league that came from Providence, Louise has the most basketball players ever. Why we can't have their support? But we got to make sure that we're doing what we got to do to be able to obtain their support. They should be able to support our community whole heavily. But why would they if we're not doing our just due? We have to be able to do our just due. We got to be able to support them, support our community, and we need their help as well. The people that has their talents has took them to the next level, and we could call upon them to help us. I'm pretty sure they will, and we just got to do what we got to do. I'm looking at all the comments now. It threw me off, Terrence. It threw me off now, but I appreciate you having me on here. If you have any more questions, I got. I know Dr. Reggie had to step out, but if you have any questions, I don't want to end it early, you know, and I feel like we was having a great conversation.
No, people's attention span only lasts for so long. So, you're welcome back to come if you want to come before the elections are over, right? But appreciate you coming, and we will make sure to, um, send some stuff out about you. So, thanks again. Um, I'm stepping in for Dr. Ratliff, who said he got not feeling well. So thanks everybody for tuning in to Let's Talk Maywood. Please make sure you get out to vote. Early voting starts on March 17th, which is on Monday. Then the real election is next week for Let's Talk Maywood.